Now, Executive Suites with WPRI.com reporter Ted Nisi.
Charles Donadio makes his living on the high seas. The former owner of Southland Riverboat and Island High-Speed Ferry, Donadio now runs Rhode Island Fast Ferry, founded in 2001 to carry passengers from Quonset Point to Martha's Vineyard. Now the lifelong surfer wants to spend up to $7 million to add a new high-speed ferry from Quonset to Block Island. Donadio has the support of North Kingstown leaders, but he's facing opposition from the existing ferry's hometown of Narragansett. This week on Executive Suite, Rhode Island Fast Ferry President and CEO Charles Donadio Jr. Welcome to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. Charles, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
And good topic for a summer show, I thought, about the boat business. So we've had a boat builder on a couple weeks ago. Now the people running us back and forth. So some people might not know there are a couple ferry services in this area, and they might not know which one is which. So I want to start with a map we have off your website for the Rhode Island Fast Ferry, and have you tell us a little bit about what you do. So here's a map. What are we looking at, and what do you do at the Rhode Island Fast Ferry?
All right, we're located in Quonset Point Business Park down in North Kingstown. And we're running a fast ferry from Quonset Point to Oak Bluffs, Martha's Vineyard, from basically Memorial Day weekend through Columbus Day weekend. And that map shows the route. It goes through out in the ocean, about 3 to 4 miles offshore, and up Vineyard Sound. Very scenic ferry ride along the way. And we also have connections to the TF Green Airport as well as the Amtrak train station in Kingston.
So you're getting people over from there. And what is different about your service from other, some of us have taken a Woods Hole ferry to Martha's Vineyard. What is different about your service from that?
Well, we're saving people a lot of time in traveling back and forth. If you go out to the Cape during this time of year, you'd probably spend another 3 or 4 hours of traveling back and forth with the Cape traffic and also all the islands, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard traffic. So we are truly saving people a lot of travel time, and the level of service is much like a business class service. I mean, we're probably one of the most expensive ferries that run to Martha's Vineyard, but the level of service our clientele is getting is by far the nicest service you can get in the country. And how often are you running? You mentioned your season. How often a day are you sending people over? We run 7 days a week, anywhere from 2 to 3, sometimes 4 round trips a day. And also during the shoulder seasons and midweek, we also do our very popular lighthouse cruises around Narragansett Bay. You see 10 lighthouses. You go through Newport Harbor, past the aircraft carrier, and under both bridges. It is probably one of the nicest sightseeing cruises in all of New England.
And one of the things I was interested in is you talked about you have catamarans. You're taking people fast, and you have a new boat that you just brought online last year. We have some footage, I think, that my colleague Andrew Adamson shot last year, and it's the Ava Pearl. Tell me about this new boat, why you built it, and how it's changed your business.
Well, the original boat that I have in the fleet's the Millennium. It's also a catamaran, much larger boat. This boat was specifically built for the ocean. It's got the latest in trim tab ride control, so it gives you the smoothest ride possible. It's got a lot more freeboard to handle the sea conditions, and the amenities, the nicest amenities any ferry service can have. Like I said, business class, a lot of leg room, and even though the boat only carries 150 passengers, we have about 240 seats on board. So when the boat's sold out, you still look around and the boat looks half full. So it's very comfortable for the people riding.
Would you
the
ever
boat.
Expand so you can sell a few more tickets if you need to?
You can't, no. It's U.S. Coast Guard regulations.
So you don't have that, you're not allowed, so you built the extra.
The catamaran hulls are much different than the traditional monohulls. Allows the boat to go faster to the ocean and give you a more stable ride.
How is business this summer? You've been running this about a decade now. You've been doing the Martha's Vineyard service. How does this year compare with previous years? And have you seen any ups or downs over 10 years in running this ferry service?
No, this is actually officially the 11th season, and made it through hurricanes, through largest recession that anyone can remember, and the business is growing year after year. The new boat that we put online obviously is a brand new vessel. Invested that last year, and company continues to grow. Very popular service.
Who uses it? Is it mostly Rhode Islanders coming down from the suburbs, coming over to Quonset and getting on the boat? Do people come in from out of town? What do you see in terms of your clientele?
Believe it or not, probably 95% of our business comes from out of state.
So not Rhode Islanders?
Not Rhode Island, yeah. Rhode Islanders are set on Block Island. They like going to Block Island, but most of our clientele is utilizing TF Green Airport. They're utilizing the Kingston Amtrak station, and of course they're driving to our parking lot. And we have had every license plate in our parking lot including Hawaii and Alaska, since the service started.
Tough to drive from Hawaii.
It is, yeah.
Maybe another ferries
we took a picture of that one, yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Maybe they came over with the cars that unloaded there on the boat. So the new boat, we were talking about that, and you mentioned how you need to give people a good ride coming across there, and that brings up, of course, weather. You mentioned that too. How dependent are you, when you're in April thinking about your upcoming season, for all you know, God's going to send down a hurricane a week or something like that and blow you out. I mean, how can you plan for that in a business like yours that's so dependent on seasonal factors?
Well, it's a ferry service, and we are obviously subject to Mother Nature. We can't do anything about the weather, and our customers do understand that. Fortunately, our service runs like an airline. Reservations, probably 95% of the reservations are made in advance. So they are going rain or shine. They make hotel reservations, they have plans on the island. We're not very dependent upon the weather. People are going no matter what. But when the weather does come, there are cancellations, and there's nothing we can do about that. And we provide alternate transportation, so if we do cancel, we send out text messages and phone calls. We arrange for another ferry to take them into Woods Hole, where the water's protected, and we send out nice, luxurious motor coaches, run them back and forth, and get them back and forth, and try not to disturb their travel plans too much.
I do a little triage there.
Exactly,
if the time comes.
Yeah, no, you need to plan for the weather when it happens, though.
And we're talking a lot here about Martha's Vineyard, but as you mentioned, you also do the cruises, and you also, there are a number of other ways you use your boats, and someone emailed us recently that they saw the Rhode Island Fast Ferry in Bermuda. Why would that be? Yeah, well, the Millennium, which was the first vessel that I had running the service, is now running in Bermuda, cruise ship passengers between the dockyard and St. George's. The government was looking to up their capacity for the larger Norwegian breakaways. Cruise ships that were built that carry upwards of 4,000 passengers and about 1,800 crew. So at any given time, they could have 6,000 to 8,000 people they need to move back and forth. And Bermuda is set up in a way that they rely heavily upon public transportation. The bus system, the ferry system is very, very important to the island, so they need to be able to move these passengers around. How'd you get the Bermuda contract? How'd you find out they needed it's pretty far for the Rhode Island Fast Ferry to end up. Yeah, I mean, we have a very good reputation. We're the leaders in the fast ferry industry. We've been doing this now for almost 15 years. So we've got a great track record and have done a lot of different charters and management contracts. So just one lead led to another, and we're working for them right now on this project. And tell me some more about the cruises. Where did you get the idea for did you see a demand for that? How did that come about? Well, I used to own the Southland Riverboat down in Galilee and ran that for about 12 years and sold that business in 2007. And then started the high-speed ferry in 2001 to Martha's Vineyard. And we had a lot of downtime midweek when we were running 2 round trips, so decided to put together another custom tour. And I was like, wait a minute, with this fast boat, we could see 10 lighthouses. No one can do that in New England, let alone the country. And put together a package and marketed to group tour organizations and the local, and it just took off. So the boat is so crucial to what you're able to do. All our trips are sold out. Yeah. You can't, if you don't book in advance, you can't get on the boat. So it's Narragansett Bay has a lot of nice attractions, and I'm looking to capitalize and really look to promote the Ocean State on the water and all the things you can see from Quonset Point. Now, is it any problem being, Quonset can feel kind of out of the way to people? You get off there, you get down on Route 4, and you go off this. Has that been a problem at all for you because it's not a known destination right there on 95, or have you been able to deal with that? No, Quonset Point actually, it's exactly the reverse. It's so convenient to anyone from this side of the bay. The new 403 highway system basically dumps right off at our dock. There's never any traffic. You can literally drive from I-95 to our dock in 8 minutes. No traffic lights, no traffic. And you drive down a very nice Route 403 onto Roger Owens Way. You pass the golf course, really nice treed industrial park. I mean, it's nice. And you get down, there's no traffic. You park at the dock, you hop on the boat, and you go. But it's actually been not a hindrance. It's actually a plus for our company. All right, we're overdue for a break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more with Charles about his plans to maybe bring up go back to Block Island like he used to do. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nesi, and my guest this week is Charles Donadio. He is the founder of the Rhode Island Fast Ferry, which runs to Martha's Vineyard. Also does charters and boat rides as far away as Bermuda, we were talking about, and depending on the time of year and the day. But I want to zoom out a little. You are a true Rhode Islander. You grew up here and everything. Tell me a little about your background and how the ocean's kind of always been a part of your life, even before you were making money off it.
Yeah, no, I grew up in Narragansett. Went to Narragansett High School. I ended up going to University of Rhode Island and graduating from there, and basically been surfing most of my life, all of my life, and this is where I'm from. I'm just glad I'm able to work on the ocean and continue to do that. Go to work in shorts, It's
always nice.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Had to dress up today.
Yeah. Occasionally I got to get dressed up for business things, but that's okay.
That's all right. And lifeguarded for years down there too. People might remember you. Maybe you saved a couple of them from a shark or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. No, I lifeguarded in Narragansett Town Beach for 10 years till I was 30. I put it off as long as I could. But it was one of my most favorite jobs, of course. And now, of course, I don't actually get to go to the beach that often. I try to get there a half a day a week with my kids, but to Narragansett Beach, of course.
Life changes as the years go by. Yeah. And you didn't spend your whole life planning to get into the boat business. It's kind of a funny story. Tell me about that night in college where you first this even came into your head, this idea. Yeah, no, I was actually going to college for political science, and an honorable major. Yeah. I mean, you could do a lot of things with that. So got invited onto what they call the booze cruise, and ended up, everyone had a great time. So I started actually leasing the Southland and reselling tickets and doing charters with them. And while you were in college, right? While I was in college, yeah, we'd be selling tickets to friends and stuff like that, and just having parties on the boat. And it became very popular in fraternities and sororities. And then eventually bought the Southland, and then parlayed that into looking at the Block Island Ferry route. When I was running the Southland, you'd see lines of people on the dock getting left there. The boats would just leave the dock heading to Block Island, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people just standing there. Just too full to take anybody else on. Handle the capacity. So I looked at the new technology was fast ferries, and it wasn't done in Rhode Island yet. It was being done by Highline Cruises in Massachusetts, and looked at cutting the trip to the island in half, and got the license from the PUC. I was partners with Boston Harbor Cruises at that time, and also some friends, Hagopians in Narragansett, and we formed a partnership, built a new boat, and launched it, and it was a huge success from day one. How come you didn't keep it then? Well, I saw some other opportunities down the road, and I sold my ownership to the partnership, and moved on to Quonset and started this company. And that boat is still running, though, right? It's running with a different ownership right now? Yeah, the boat's still running. In the end, they actually sold the company to Interstate Navigation, so they do have a monopoly. They run everything down there now. Yeah. And that's actually a good segue into my next question, which is you're looking at expanding now with a new ferry service to Block Island, which would come from Quonset, and you've applied to the PUC for a license there. First, what's the opportunity you see there, and how would this work? I see great opportunity. First of all, we've got some new infrastructure, all new docks in Quonset, can handle multiple boats now. But there is definitely an untapped market of passengers that are coming from the north part of Rhode Island. There's no longer a ferry service running from Providence to Block Island, so it's very difficult to get down to the southern end of the state in the summertime. Also southern Massachusetts, southwestern, western parts of Massachusetts, if they can drive down to Quonset in 25 minutes and hop on a fast ferry, that does open up a new market. There's also a lot of Rhode Islanders that just avoid Galilee like the plague in the summer. It's just too much traffic. It's difficult enough to get through the beach traffic to get down there, so people will not go to Block Island. And there's definitely an untapped market of people who will say, hey, I can hop on a ferry, be there in 15 minutes, right in North Kingstown, and they'll go more frequently. Now, you mentioned the Providence ferry to Block Island, which, as you said, isn't running anymore. Some people might say, well, isn't that a cautionary tale about how it's hard to make it work from over in that part of the bay as opposed to in Galilee? What lessons do you take out of why the Providence ferry stopped? Well, that was a slow boat, so that took several hours to get there. So you're spending more time traveling back and forth to the island than you are actually enjoying the island. So that never really had a lot of ridership to begin with. But there's definitely people who will, if you make it convenient for them, they'll definitely go. So you make a 50-minute trip, you get the day trippers and people like that? Absolutely, yeah. A lot of people coming in from the airport, connecting in MBTA up to Wickford Junction and Boston South Station. We get a lot of people that will come down from there that can get down now on public transportation versus driving in their car. And the idea is getting people off the highways.
that's the goal of everyone. The highways are way too congested as it is.
In Rhode Island in the summer, that's for sure.
Yep.
Now you have support. I looked, the North Kingstown Town Council has said they like the idea.
Yep.
You have other folks saying they're in support. One group that hasn't been as supportive is the Narragansett Chamber of Commerce. Their board voted last month to oppose your application. They don't want the competition for Point Judith Road in Galilee.
Yep.
I read they said your idea will not only siphon travelers, will only siphon travelers who would otherwise be headed for Galilee. There is not enough of a geographical distance to attract new travelers from a new market. You disagree?
I totally disagree. Yes, I know my business better than anybody else, and obviously that was from the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce, who doesn't understand the market of what we're doing. There was no facts or economic data that backed up the accusations, but we'll see what happens. I mean, hopefully the chamber realize that there is plenty of market share out there, and hopefully change their mind down the road.
So you think it seems like the difference here is really you think you can grow the pie. You can find, you won't just siphon off some of Galilee's passengers. You think there's people who aren't going to Block Island now who will go if you offer them this.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the same with everything else. That's why you have McDonald's and Burger King on the same corner. It draws more people into the area. And to have one ferry service who does limited marketing, you get limited ridership. If you've got two players in the marketplace, they're both putting out an aggressive marketing campaign. You're drawing more people and newer people from a different location. So it's a fact that it works. And
you have to. It might be funny to people. You have to get a license from the Public Utilities Commission, which regulates National Grid and other things. How long is that process? When do you expect you could get a decision?
It depends. I mean, it could take a few months. It could take a few years. It depends on the interveners, if they allow them in, and what the arguments are. The original PUC license, when we started up the first high-speed ferry, took almost 2.5 years because they allowed the Block Island Ferry to come in and went through every single court battle you possibly could. Everything was appealed, and it got dragged on, and it cost a lot of money, a lot of time. Ultimately, we got the license. I see this as a different animal, though, and hopefully we'll be able to present an argument that shows that it is a completely different market. Spending more time on the water, less time in your car, it's a higher price, different town, so we'll see what happens, and hopefully they'll see the public need, that a lot of people would like to use a service.
And will you use a reggae song as your marketing for your Block Island
Ferry? Yeah, maybe we will. We'll have to see. We'll come up with our little jingle,
All right, we're way overdue for a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about Charles' plans perhaps for Block Island and what it's like to be working down in Quonset Point. Stick with us on Executive Suite. Welcome back to Executive Suite. I'm Ted Nisi. My guest is Rhode Island Fast Ferry founder Charles Donadio. And Charles, we were talking a little while ago about Quonset Development Corporation. It's the quasi-public agency that manages all that land. Used to be with the Navy. And I'm curious what you've been there for a little while now. You've seen a big change in how they manage it. What's your experience at this point about how that land is being managed to bring in businesses and companies?
Yeah, I mean, when I first moved in there into the port, it was very difficult. The management they had in was making things very difficult for the small business owner. Their goal was to bring in the big biotech or the big fish. And we've seen a dramatic swing since the management's changed. Steve King's in there now. He's been very, very great to work with.
Steve King, the managing director.
Yeah, understands small business and knows what you need to grow. And it's been a great experience from the last 4 years or so. Just signed a very long-term lease through 2035, I believe, so I can invest more money into the property. But experience is great. I've had a very good experience.
And they're always telling me from Quonset saying we've really streamlined permitting. We've actually done it around. Is that your experience? That it's permitting's?
Unfortunately, for my business, it doesn't really work because I have to go through multiple agencies. I have to go through CRMC, DEM, DOT, FAA, because I'm in the airport zone, Rhode Island Airport Corporation, the town of North Kingstown, the Harbor Master, the Coast Guard. I go through every agency in the state of Rhode Island. It would be hard for them to streamline that.
It's a regulatory gauntlet.
Yeah, they're working on streamlining quick builds where you can come in, everything's done, and I know they've been pretty successful with that.
And you mentioned all those regulatory authorities, some of them federal. You've been running a business in Rhode Island for 2 decades or so now. True or false? Is Rhode Island a bad place to do business in your experience?
Sometimes it's hard. It's very difficult, of course, with all the different agencies and the boards you have to deal with. But you know, if you believe in something and you just keep trying and you keep knocking on the door, you'll eventually get it done.
And when you think about that, maybe particularly from the regulatory perspective, what could be done to make it easier for companies? The next, you know, some kid at URI now who gets a boat idea and wants to do the same thing. Yeah. What in your experience could the state, could leaders do to make it easier or get out of the way about?
I don't know if there's anything you can do because there's just so many different agencies and they all have to work together. You know, you just got to be persistent, and if you have a really good idea, just keep going after it, and then just, you know, eventually it will happen for you. You know.
And you're seeing, you said you're feeling pretty good about this season and upcoming years. I'm curious, did you see a real dip during the recession and it's bounced back now? What's the last couple of years look like?
No effect. We actually grew during the recession.
Really? What do you attribute that to?
Our clientele are affluent passengers going back and forth. They own homes on the Vineyard. As you know, Vineyard's, you know, not cheap to go visit.
That's for sure.
And we're in the tourist season, so people, when they go on vacation, they don't want to skimp. I mean, time is money, and they'd rather spend time on vacation than time in their car. So we've actually grown our ridership through the recession, which is, you know, unusual, but it's good. Do
you think you're missing business on the middle and lower end because you have, as you say, higher fares? The location is so perfect. Would you ever try to expand the market you're approaching on that?
Yeah, there's different things that we could potentially do in the future, but I'm looking at more of Narragansett Bay. The sites, you know, sightseeing in Narragansett Bay. I think every person that comes to visit the Ocean State needs to get on the water because it's, you know, we have over 360 miles of coastline and it's all gorgeous. And if someone comes to Rhode Island for a visit and they don't see the ocean, you know, there's something wrong. They have to see the waterfront.
They're missing
beautiful.
it.
They're missing it. Yep.
And you said only about 5% of your business, you think, is people from Rhode Island going over to Martha's Vineyard.
No, I know. Yeah.
Do Rhode Islanders just don't leave? They'll go to Block Island, but you find they mostly won't even go to the Vineyard, let alone Nantucket?
I think it's hard to comprehend that you're leaving the state, you know, because it's hard to go from Narragansett to East Greenwich,
right,
let alone hop on a ferry and go to Martha's Vineyard. But, you know, it's the word's slowly getting out that it's very convenient to get to Martha's Vineyard now, and that market share is growing slowly. But most of our markets, I mean, we have people from all over the world. I think I was taking tickets last week. I had someone from Spain and England, and it was mostly passports. So people are coming from all over the world to go to the Vineyard, and now they're using the airport and they're using our ferry service.
And starting there. And finally, before we go, I want to ask you, the last boat was named Ava Pearl. I think that wasn't an accident, right?
Yeah, no, that was named after my first daughter. And my second daughter, who's 4 years old, is waiting in line now, so that would be the Julia Lee. And she reminds me every once in a while, when you building a boat for me, Daddy? So,
will she get the Block Island boat, maybe?
She would get the Block Island boat, yeah. If we got the license and we were able to put together some dockage in Block Island, that would be her boat, yeah.
You could have her lobby the PUC personally, maybe, and intervene herself.
She could have a sign.
Yeah, exactly.
Who can say no to a little 4-year-old?
Exactly, as long as she doesn't intervene against you, right?
Exactly.
So young to flee the nest. All right, that's all the time we have this week. I want to thank you, Charles, for being with me on Executive Suite. I want to thank all of you for watching. If you missed any of this show or any other episode, you can catch it all on our newly redesigned website, WPRI.com. Don't miss the Saturday morning post on Nisi's Notes every Saturday morning, and we'll see you back here next week on Executive Suite. Thanks. That was awesome. So we got to keep talking.